It's Wednesday the 23rd of November and welcome to From the South. 2 people are now dead in Panama after a landslide. A third person was killed when a tree fell on the vehicle that he was in. This as Tropical Storm Otto, just downgraded from a hurricane, battered parts of Panama this week. The storm is predicted to next hit Costa Rica or Nicaragua. Bolivia has declared a national emergency due to the drought and the shortage of water in various regions of the country. President Evo Morales issued a decree, legally unblocking funding for the government and local authorities to tackle the shortages. Morales said 2016 has been the hottest year in a century for the Andean nation. Colombia's government and FARC guerrillas will once again try to sign a new peace accord in Bogotá on Thursday. This after a previous agreement to end the country's half-century of conflict was rejected in a referendum. However, the new accord will be submitted to Congress for approval rather than put forward to another referendum. The foreign ministers of Mexico, El Salvador, Honduras and Guatemala met on Monday. The aim was to formulate a strategy to protect their migrants living in the United States. The region is nervous after Donald Trump's win in the US presidential election. Many of the migrants bound for the United States are from the poor nations of Honduras, Guatemala and El Salvador. They asked Mexico for help to create a migrant protection network, liaise for coordination with US authorities and to meet them regularly for regional talks. While in Chile, Chinese President Xi Jinping said his country will train 500 journalists on Latin American issues. The aim is to encourage ties between the two regions. Beijing will also establish a China-Latin America and Caribbean Press Exchange Center. Journalists will also be invited from this region to visit and conduct studies in China. Pro-Brexiters rallied at the Old Palace Yard just outside of the Houses of Parliament, calling for a hard Brexit. This follows a court ruling that the British government would need Parliament's approval to trigger Article 50 to leave the EU. The British government has stated that it will appeal the decision in the Supreme Court. Exiled Tibetan spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama, says he will visit US President-elect Donald Trump in a meeting that could infuriate Beijing. China regards the Nobel Peace Prize-winning monk as a dangerous separatist. A rare handwritten poem by Anne Frank has been sold for over $148,000 at an auction in the Netherlands. The 8-line poem is dated shortly before she went into hiding during the German occupation in World War II. The artifact was sold for nearly 3 times its asking price. A prominent Sudanese rebel group signs a deal with the United Nations to end the recruitment and use of child soldiers in its ranks. The Sudan People's Liberation Movement North is fighting government troops in Blue Nile and South Kordofan. The rebel organization is on a UN list of groups blamed for committing grave violations against children.
The Union for Local Employees for the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, UNRWA, organized on Tuesday a massive march in the northern Gaza Strip to protest what they called the agency's disregards of their demands. The protests included a general strike in all UNRWA offices in the Strip, including schools.
This escalation is our response to the failure of the administration of the UN Refugee Agency for Palestine to address the rights of Palestinian refugees and employees.
On Monday, the Workers' Federation declared a one-day strike in the agency's West Bank and Gaza City offices. The union had previously threatened to escalate protests in the occupied Palestinian territories had the UNRWA's administration not met their demands. The employees' union has repeatedly called on UNRWA to increase salaries to cope with the high cost of living, to fill in hundreds of jobs, and to stop cutting services offered to refugees. Nevertheless, the UNRWA's Director for Operations in Gaza, Mr. Bu Schak, has denied any reduction of services offered by UNRWA to Palestinian refugees in spite of the severe funding deficit the agency is facing. Nur Harazin, teleSur's TV, Gaza.
Spain's public prosecutor has called for Barcelona soccer star Neymar to be sent to prison for 2 years for corruption in his transfer from Brazilian club Santos to the La Liga champions in 2013. Barcelona have been engulfed in legal troubles over Neymar's transfer since then. More on these and other stories on our website telesurtv.net/English.